Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Always love when we get together with this guy. He has so much insight on improving your life, but just I guess call it an amazing colored past. He is a modern day mystic, and he's Peter Schenk back with us. Peter, how you doing?
Doing great, Steve. Thank you for having me back again. Like to start off this show, as always, with programming a glass of water. We're just programming it with goodwill to kind of set the mood and the tone for the show. So with that said, you just put it on the desk in front of you, hold your left hand over it, 3 inches, spread your fingers. And in a second, you're going to start to feel that energy run down through your hand into the water. It can come in the form of heat, straight up lightning bolt, pinpricklies, tingling, and everything and anything in between. Once that starts, you put your attention on the water and you repeat those 8 sacred words. I honor the space in which you exist.
I honor the space in which you exist.
And almost instantly, you'll feel that flow start to increase through your hand into the water, at which point you want to go ahead and drink as much as you want. Notice the taste and the texture is very different than what it was before. As that energy starts to move through your body, you'll feel certain areas start to tingle and expand, and that's when the magic starts to happen. I
have to tell you, Peter, every time we've done that, I have felt heat come out of my hand. And I don't want to think it, but I genuinely feel it happening.
Unlimit your thinking, thereby unlimiting your potential.
Well, I don't want to just say, oh, because Peter said I'm going to feel heat, and I do, but I do. I try to discount it and say, nah, can't be really happening, but I do. It's wild.
You can take it worlds further, right? You can take an apple, cut an apple in half, and use the same procedure over the apple. Okay. Take a bite of the right-hand side, which you didn't do anything to, and then take a bite of the left and watch what happens. Okay. Or you could take it a step further. You can cut that apple in half, put half over there, say those 8 sacred words with your hand, and watch which half browns faster.
I was just thinking that.
Anything with water can be programmed. Literally anything. Years ago, when we were pushing the envelope with Aquaware, what we had figured out was that you could program the humidity bubble around a person with intention. So we call them force field intentions with all kinds of things. People that were in the hospital, you could program the water bubble around their physical body to help speed the healing. I mean, it just, when your mind starts going to possibilities, once you have, learned to unlimit it, the possibilities just flow to you, and it's absolutely endless. And
accept and understand the principles. Like you just said, you could program anything with water. My first thought was, aren't we like 90-something% water, humans, right?
Uber dangerous. Never program water within the body. Bunch of different reasons, but basically water in the body vibrates at different levels to support organs, health, and all kinds of stuff. If you disrupt that vibration by programming any of the water in the body, you're going to go through a detox that will be unlike anything you've ever experienced. So what is a detox? When the physical body comes into contact with something that vibrates higher, and everything in existence can be measured by levels of vibration. The higher something vibrates, the closer to source it is. The lower something vibrates, the further out it is. So the body vibrates at all different levels. So that detox that you experience it will bring flu-like symptoms on that'll put you in bed for 4 or 5 days, because when you come into contact with something that vibrates higher, the light body or the etherical twin instantly matches that vibration. But the body, because it's physical, usually takes about 72 hours to kind of raise the vibration to that level. And there's things within the body that can't vibrate higher, heavy metal toxins, all kinds of stuff, especially energy. And energy has to come out of the body some way, and it comes out in the form of a detox. It's not unlike when you're sitting in a sauna and you kind of feel all of that stuff just coming out of you, but it's much more profound and you won't like it. So,
But then, and I'm not like this, but I'm always thinking, so what about if there's somebody that you're not particularly fond of, and you could just walk up to them and just like lean up and like, hey, by the way, I honor the space in which you exist.
of course, but with that type of programming and intention, you don't have to raise your hand over them. You could just simply put your attention on them and repeat those 8 magical words and watch how their mood will shift. Watch the expression on, and do it with them, and not, no, do it with any of your loved ones, anybody. Just put your attention on them and say those words and watch body language. Watch, especially if you know them, watch how the face just smooths out. Everything becomes calm.
Interesting. Wow. Well, you know what? I think you said the most important word, intention. Depends on what your intention is. If your
Exactly.
intention, is to do negative to somebody, in saying those words, that's going to go maybe down a different road than if you were looking at it in a positive way.
Actually, it wouldn't work, right? Because you are exuberating high vibration. Anything that vibrates lower can't exist within the sphere of that vibration. So it just negates itself. It goes back to the conversation that we had earlier about pushing intentions onto people that were negative. If it's not in their experience to experience, it's just not going to happen. And in the case of the software, nothing that vibrates lower than the software would work anyways, just because it vibrates lower. So yeah.
So really, they have to be accepting of it, and the only way they can accept whatever you're sending is if they're in the right vibrational, I guess, range.
No, subconscious mind always picks it up, and if it's of the light, then their body and their conscious mind will react to it, and you'll see it physically. And if you have the ability to watch an aura, maybe a person that's upset, you'll watch it go into, from reds and darker yellows into lighter shades instantly. Have you ever heard of the term Carillion photography?
No.
Okay, it's a type of camera that will sense energy around an object. And one of the best ones is plant energy, right? And you may or may have not seen this, where they'll take Carillion photographs of a plant, and the plant, you'll see the life force around the plant. And then someone will come up and wreck a plant next to it, and they'll take a picture a few seconds later, and that life force completely changes, right? It's the same thing with water. And the experiments that Dr. Emoto did for his entire career prior to passing in 2014, he would take a control sample of water and then divide that water into 5 samples. And he would have maybe a choir sing to one of them. And then he would have someone be negative to another one, and down the line. And what they would do is they would freeze the water, and then they would slice it very thin, and they'd look at it under a microscope. And the water that had beautiful vibration, the crystalline structure, was perfect, mathematically perfect. And the ones that had the negative energy going through it was all broken and disfigured. So he proved that you could change the structure of water based on frequency. I just took that work to another level in the software and allowed you to consciously direct the intentions of a selected intention into water anywhere. But it's also important to remember that where you're using those quantum-based principles, it doesn't have to be water next to your computer. It can be a case of water in your refrigerator. It can be a body of water on the other side of the planet. It can be a cup of coffee on Mars, doesn't matter. And because you're playing in that realm, space, time, and distance don't exist. That means past, present, and future can also exist. So early in the development stages, it was a Windows 32 app, people would download it. Now they're going on vacation. And it was hard to push the concept to them that you can program all of the water that you consume while you're on vacation without physically having the software with you in the future. And all you have to do is just put your attention on what you're going to be drinking in the future, and it's already done.
This stuff is fascinating. I'm totally into energy and the intention. Do you believe in the law of attraction?
I do.
And do you subscribe to the thought that what you want is here? It's already here. It's arrived. You just need to pull it toward you.
So these are very low level teachings, and that's fine. Let's
I'm
take
sorry,
it.
I'm low level.
Let's take it infinitely further. So in the law of attraction, they teach us to think of something in your head and release that thought form. And the school of thought is the universe will come by, pick it up, bring it upstream in your reality, and start creating the energetic pathways to bring it into fruition. Okay. So the pathway is the point by which you release the thought, and the universe gets it. And then those 2 points in time meet somewhere in your future tense. How many people do you know can manifest on demand?
Obviously, none.
Exactly. So there's an Achilles heel in that thought process. And the thought process is, once you release it, if you have doubt or worry anywhere along that path, the thought form gets destroyed and you got to start over. 99.999% of the people that use that process, it fails. So what did I do? I developed software that took the Achilles heel out of it, called the Source. And what it does is it allows you to consciously direct the light frequencies of the thing that you desire into a glass of water. You drink that glass of water. Now it's coming out of the body on what we call light rays. And the universe comes by, and we've taken the Achilles heel, the human, out of the equation, and it picks up the light rays, brings it upstream in your reality, and starts creating those pathways. What you also have to remember is things that you desire have to make sense in your current trajectory. What does that mean? Oh, I want the big house on the hill. I want $10 million in my bank account. Well, it doesn't make sense. And the other missing piece is the universe will always deliver your manifestation in a more perfect form than what your human imagination can conjure up. So I love to use a red Ferrari as an example when we're talking down these lines. I'd like a red Ferrari. So the lower school of thought teaches us to, okay, think of a red Ferrari, release it, blah, blah, blah. But details are important. The more real you make something in your conscious mind, the more real it's going to happen. So think about the red Ferrari. It's got to be a V12. It's got to be red. It's got to have tan leather. It's got to be a 6-speed. Get out there and wax it. Do the work. Make it real in your head.
Smell it. You can smell the new car when you're sitting it. You can
exactly.
Driving down the road, got the T-tops off, whatever it may be, sunroof, and you feel the wind in your hair, and you just feel good.
Exactly. But the linchpin is the worry about how I'm going to get it. And that worry is always lingering in your head when you release it. And it's not a perfect thought. It's just not going to happen. But what does make sense is, remember, the universe is always going to deliver it. So you're thinking of that, and you release the thought form utilizing Source software. And 2 days later, you get a check from a long lost relative with maybe some more money than you would need to buy that Ferrari. That makes sense. And it's totally doable. And that's how it works. You got to remember, the universe is a thinking sponge, and it only wants to make you happy. Remember that childlike energy that everything in existence spawns from. It's all giggly. It's lovable, right? The thinking sponge only wants to give you what you want, but you have to know what you want. So in the law of attraction, yeah, it's great to think about something, but it's just so many levels deeper into doing that. So there's 2 forms of manifestation. There's unconscious and conscious manifestation, right? Unconscious manifestation is a deja vu. It's a blip in the matrix. It's a synchronicity. It happens to us hundreds of times a day. And once in a while, you notice something. You're like, oh my God, that's happened to me before. You get some glimpse of reality. If you can imagine that your conscious reality is kind of like a data stream moving through you, and one day you're driving down the highway and you get a inkling of a red Ferrari, and then 30 seconds later, a red Ferrari drives by. That is unconscious manifestation. It happens to us all the time. Conscious manifestation is easy as pie in theory, but in practical application, it's much, much harder. And what we talked about a few minutes ago was the practical applications of bringing something that you wish into reality.
Well, to your point, Peter, we're programmed to be negative since we were kids. So what's going to happen with manifesting or putting out into the universe that red Ferrari? We can think about it. We can visualize waxing it. We can visualize driving in it. We want it so bad. Yes, I deserve it. But you're always going to have a negative thought. You're thinking about it, and then all of a sudden something's going to pop in. Why can't I have it now?
Okay, so
that's a negative.
Listen to what you're saying. Although you're educating the audience, you're also deriving negative frequencies from what you're saying. Okay. Words have power, a tremendous amount of power, because it's a way that we articulate our thoughts. It's a way we communicate. It's a way we express ourselves. And if you are a negative person, everything in your life is going to be negative. If you're somewhere in between, then you're somewhere in between. And, you know, when you, I always kind of laugh at this, I probably shouldn't, but when people tell me they're enlightened, I laugh, because to me it's comical. And again, everything I have learned, discerned, discovered, practiced, preached has always been through my own experiences, and my experiences could fill volumes of books, literally. You know, I've done so much in this 53 years I've been on this planet that it would fill lifetimes for someone. So having positive thoughts is difficult, because like you said, we're conditioned to be negative. But what's not difficult is to surround yourself with positive things, affirmations. Things can be anything, but more importantly, people that you love and trust that are going to build you up and not knock you down. And that starts the cycle of thinking positive. And look, I've been at this a long time, and I have negative thoughts all the time. But what I've learned over time is to watch my verbiage. Okay. In language, we use words like, I'm going to try and do this. I'm trying to do this. Those are words that keep you stuck in neutrality. You're the hamster on the wheel. You're the catch-22. You can't break free. And when you speak of manifesting in terms of what you want, always speak like it's happening in the present or it's in future tense. And, you know, expanding your mind, Steve, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And there's so many, the universe gives us so many little things during the day to kind of help us remember that. And it's just a choice to choose it. So, you know, through a series of happenstances, I was introduced to an author, Dolores Canyon. And this is the first volume of Conversations with Nostradamus. Now, I've been interested in this guy my whole life, but I never really researched it, right? So on my path, why I was introduced to this series of books and other books I've read by her was to give me validation for things that I've always known all along, because I've been in the period, and we all kind of go through this, where I've been questioning things that I've been pushing and preaching over the years. And, you know, the long and the short of it is she passed in 2014, no coincidence there. But she's had techniques to use a person as a vehicle to intercept past lives of some fascinating people. And what she did was something that over the last 400 years, nobody that tried to interpret the quatrains that he had written was anywhere near it. And based on these conversations that she's been able to rewrite and bring light into a 400-year-old mystery of over, or just not even shy of 1,000 of these things. I mean, and when you're in the presence of master level people, okay, and whatever they're gaining their mastery in, you're vibrating and going to vibrate at that same junction. And that just opens up your mind for acceptance to a whole bunch of things that you would have never had kludgy to before, right?
I love what we're talking about. And one thing that comes into my mind, somebody told me this to break your negative thought. So back to the Ferrari for a second, where you're manifesting it, and instead of using the word but, because we'll always throw the word but in there. Yeah, it's here. I'm going to get that car, but I wish it had this, or but. Take the word but out and use and. And it's like a child. Like it's just yours and this and that and this.
Exactly. And here's a question to you. What percentage of the people that you interviewed during a thought process go,
It's perfectly natural, right?
right. But replace that with so, and feel the vibrational difference, right? So let me read something to you quickly. We got back to the I am products, and I just want to read something to you quickly, and I want you to notice the vibrational difference in this. Okay, so we talked about a couple different product lines with the I ams, and when people say the I am, they're putting all of creation on notice, and then they follow it up with something like I am energy, I am love.
And by the way, when you said that last week, I just wanted to share with you, because this is that way my brain works. The group, the Black Eyed Peas, there's a guy in the group called Will I Am. It's almost like he was ahead of a lot of us, people like me, thinking that he was already I am.
So I talked about the mantra, and when you bring it into fruition, do you want to drive that Ferrari on a dirt road, or you want to drive it on the Autobahn? And this is the difference. So just open yourself up and listen to this.
Sure.
Energy. I am energy, my own unit of power, dynamic, driven, and passionate. I have the strength and vitality for sustained physical and mental activity. I accept universal energy as it runs freely through me. To the universe, I give back energy, unifying me with divinity. I am aware of my energy flow and the flow of energy I put forth to the universe. I am energy. Do you feel the power of that mantra?
That was the word I was going to use, power. Yeah.
And it just sends chills down your body, because these are words of power that come together not only as a beautiful paragraph, but as the concrete foundation of I am. And, with the symbology and everything and the way it's put together, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
You can feel the affirmations within that paragraph.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And thank you for instead of the throwing a so in there. Yeah.
Well, so years and years ago, I had a show called the MDM Show, and I had interviewed probably about 100 people, and I latched on to a woman that was very high vibrational, and she taught me some really, really simple techniques that when you're interviewing someone to, I'm doing it again, but to listen to what you're saying and replace it. And it took a lot of work, and sometimes I still do it, but it just makes everything go so much smoother. And that smoothness is in the higher vibes.
Okay. Like, I don't even think about what I say, but now, you don't want to say, and that is like the fear of most people when it comes to speaking on camera, public speaking, being in a conversation with somebody at a loss of words. Probably not. You're just thinking. That's all you're doing.
But when you're passionate about something you create, you can't make this up. It just flows out of you.
Agreed.
It just oozes out of you, and that in itself is proof positive that someone is gaining mastery in whatever they do.
And it also is more proof that you have a positive energy about what you're speaking about because you're passionate. You could be
Exactly
yourself. Yeah.
But all of these concepts were really born out of the early years of my wake up experience and some of the experiences that I had had. Now, earlier on one of the other interviews we did, I shared, literally after that moment in my wake up experience, I thought I'd gone insane for the first 6 weeks, but I was better. The one thing that kept me going was I was better at becoming whatever I was becoming than going back to being asleep, where I was empty. And today, during these interviews, everything that coming across you with have been born through my own experiences. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to kind of share some of those early years adventures with you, because they'll kind of
you know what? We were going to talk about that. We're out of time. How did this even happen? Like overtime. Not kidding. Not kidding at all. Wow.
We'll save that for next time.
And I really want to dig into that, because even before we went on today, you shared a few things about your past, where you grew up. And I'm like, really? You did that? From this to that? You bounce from here to here to there to there. But it all makes you who you are. And those combined experiences give you that, that vibration that you do have.
What they do is they groom you for what you're going to become. Every experience that you've had.
Sure.
Just leave with this thought. There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. Every conditioning tells you that if you make a mistake, it's something bad. But look at it from a different vantage point. Because we're all interconnected and we are connected to a divine creator, that means that you are perfect in form, in energy, and everything. And you, based on that, you are incapable of making perceived mistakes. But those aren't mistakes. Those are learning opportunities of what not to do next time.
100%. Totally agree with you. And I don't want to use that cliche, but those things happen for you, not against you.
Exactly.
Or to you. And I'm going to throw this question. We're like seriously over time here. I'm going to ask this one question, and maybe we table this. Do you ever feel like you're on your journey, but wondering when you're going to arrive? Or have you felt like you've arrived at different stops within your journey, or not?
I can only use product creation to answer that. And from the conception of a thought until the final product is delivered, when I wake up at the end of the delivery mechanism and look back at the path, then everything comes full circle. And that's one of the beautiful aha moments I have.
So that's your clarity products. That's your clarity. And that's almost like your marker.
Yeah.
As you move along in your journey. He is the Modern Day Mystic. Check him out at moderndaymistic.com. Peter Shank, always great talking with you. I wish I could just, I wish I could throw it into the universe. Give us another half hour, but that'll be next time. And, we'll dig into your early years at that time.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.